I'm a experienced political donor. I raise a lot of money for candidates. I would like to support the women candidates, but I feel like Donald Trump has raised a bunch of issues. He's dangerously unqualified for the job, and Republicans have said it. So Jeff Flake has said it, Bob Corker has said it. I'm going to invite you now to tell us whether you support Donald Trump and his dangerous anti-woman agenda. He is admitted to committing sexual assault. So I think your choice to run as Republicans is interesting. In a different time with a different leader at the head of your party, it might be a different situation, but this is this time, this is now, and we have a sexual assailant in the White House who's running your party. So why are you a member of that party?
I'm a member of the Republican Party because of the principles of limited government. I consider myself to be a fiscal conservative, and I believe a lot of the policy positions that have been set forth in terms of helping people and having actual tangible improvements, I think that the Republican solutions, from my perspective, would be best. As Attorney General, my job is neither to support nor oppose whoever is the president, because my job is to enforce the rule of law, and I take that very seriously. So I'm not running for Attorney General as a platform to denounce whoever may be in office, whether it's a person of my party or not. It's to stay focused on what my state's interests are, to stay focused on what it is that the law says, and to make sure that I champion the interests of my state. I think that it's very tempting, regardless of whether you support or oppose the person who's the chief executive, to use the platform in that way, to champion them or oppose them. But I take very seriously the job of Attorney General. It's to be an advocate for all of the people's interests. So if the policy exceeds the scope of his executive power, then I wouldn't hesitate to challenge him. But if it is within the scope of his power, then that is something that he would have the right to do. But I take very seriously the job description that I'm running for, and I'm very proud to do that.
Christina? So the fun thing about running for public office is you have to hold on to your convictions. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to sleep. And there are a lot of people that will offer or extend donations if you are to fit in a certain category or a certain silo. And unfortunately, you run into that every single day on the campaign trail, and there are people that have asked me to bail out major companies in my policy position, and in good conscience, I wouldn't do that. I would do the decision making based on the situation at hand. And what I can tell you is I'm about to become incredibly unpopular in this room. And the reason being is I truly believe that Donald Trump is the president that is needed for this time. And hear me out. I met this person on the campaign trail, and when I met him, he treated me with more respect than the GOP establishment has ever treated me with. And his children were respectful, they were hardworking, they were intelligent, they were articulate, they spoke to policy. We sat for 2.5, almost 3 hours. I talked to Eric and Laura Trump about policies as far spread as foster and adoption care to the financial crisis that we are in as a nation, anything from the tax code to you name it, energy utility policy, which are incredibly important to both Republicans and Democrats. Our fiscal house is in extreme disarray, and whatever your policy positions are, nobody can argue that $20 trillion in debt, $60 trillion in owed services, $60 trillion in debt on those owed services is a detriment to this nation. So I am proudly in support of the President of the United States, and I was a supporter of Cruz before I was a supporter of Trump. So is the man flawed? Absolutely. But I think every person in this room is flawed, and I am flawed as well. I mean, I think that we all need to be met with grace in our pursuit to serve. And if you look at somebody who's willing to forego their extreme financial opportunity to try to better the country, that's commendable and respectable in my opinion. And I know I just lost a lot of friends in this room. But I have to speak my truth and say what I believe. I met the person. That was my experience. Being on the campaign trail, even for Donald Trump, was lonely. But I did it because I believed it was the right direction for our nation based off of his policies and his direction. And in that experience, I was named as the youngest female to chair the Electoral College in the history of the state. So I don't think that he is anti-woman by any means. That's not been my experience on a direct basis, but that has absolutely been the rhetoric that is spread far and wide every day in the media.